There are times in life where we are going to feel helpless, we're going to feel out of control. If we do what we believe is best for us in that situation, that helps us feel like we're in control, that helps us feel like we're not helpless, it might actually take us away from a moment that we are supposed to be part of, which could ultimately shape us and change us and shift us into becoming a better version of ourselves down the road. If that doesn't make sense now, it will. Keep listening. How's it going, everybody? If you don't know me already, I'm Clark, and amongst other things, I'm a griefaholic, an alcoholic, a fearaholic, all sorts of holics, actually. Thankfully, I'm in recovery and a sober one. And my goal, my commitment to this channel, to these videos, is to help other people live the same life and to become the best versions of themselves. And if that sounds like it might offer you some value, I would really appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up, because that little act of clicking the like button helps me get this video out to others, and it's just a huge sign of support. So thanks so much. And in 2014, there was a lot of helplessness and anger bubbling within me. I was very helpless to help my mother, who my family found out had cancer at the beginning of June 2014. I understand how helplessness feels. I understand how the anger feels. I understand how the frustration feels. I understand how satisfying it is to cope with it in whatever way it is that you do it. I did it with alcohol. Maybe you do it with alcohol. Maybe you do it with something else. I understand how that makes you feel like you have control, because you do have control. We do have control because that's something that we can do. But what if in those moments where we think that we have control and we think taking control makes us less helpless? What if that actually prevents us from experiencing beautiful moments that would have been on the other side had we just sat and been uncomfortable and allowed ourselves to be helpless and allowed ourselves to be fearful and allowed ourselves to be sad and angry and just sat there in the storm that's within us? And one such moment for me in my journey, which started with my mom having cancer or being diagnosed with cancer at the beginning of June 2014, was the day of July 14th, where I'm flying to Indiana to be with my family, my sister, my dad, my mom, and my brother, for a night of us to be together before my mom goes into a surgery that is hopefully going to remove all of the cancer from her pancreas. That's the hope. I'm supposed to fly from Boston to JFK to Indianapolis, Indiana, where I meet my family. Unfortunately, at JFK, a really bad storm kicked up. They pretty much shut down the airport because the storm was so bad, no one was flying out, and I was literally stuck at JFK, and there was no way I was getting to Indiana to be with my family before my mom went into surgery the next morning. The thing about JFK, if you don't know the area, it's very close to New York City, to Manhattan, and I used to live in Manhattan. It's kind of actually where my alcoholism really took off. So there I am at JFK, pissed off, angry, helpless, a terrible trio for an alcoholic, and all I want to do is leave the airport and go into New York City to see my best friend so I can go cope in the best way that I know, so I don't have to think about how pissed off I am and how sad I am that I'm not going to see my mom before she goes into surgery. Thankfully, that did not happen. My sister, God bless her, she talked me off a ledge, begs me to stay at the airport and to not go to New York City because, well, she saw me in New York City when I drank, and it wasn't always pretty. So I listened to her, and I heard what she had to say, and I sucked it up, and I spent the night trying to sleep on the cold floor of JFK until finally the next morning arrived. And right away I was on the phone changing my flights to be reunited with my family. The problem is, upon arrival at the hospital, I saw my sister straight away, and by the look on her face I could tell that something was wrong, that something hadn't gone right, because the cancer in the pancreas had already spread to the liver, which it meant it was stage 4 cancer. And stage 4 pancreatic cancer is unfortunately just really bad news. So I'm bawling, my sister's comforting me, and we walk up to my mom's room, and she just says the strangest of things. She says something about the babies. 2 weeks prior, at the end of June 2014, I found out that I was going to be a dad. So I was a little taken aback by my mom's statement, because I could tell that she said something plural. She said babies, not baby. And so I turned to my sister and I said, did she just say babies? And my sister had this look of kind of frustration, but joy, annoyance with mom, and she said to mom, you weren't supposed to say anything. And so I put 2 and 2 together, and I turned to her and I said, are you pregnant? And she looked at me and she started crying, and she said, yeah. I mean, there we are as a family. I find out my sister's going to be a mom, and I 2 weeks prior found out I was going to be a dad. We both find out we're going to be parents almost at the same time, and we all find out together that our mother has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I mean, 2 forms of life coming into our family while the matriarch is diagnosed with a terrible cancer that is unfortunately unbeatable and would take my mom's life on November 23rd, 2014, about 100 days before her grandsons were born. And what I'm trying to say, my friends, is that regardless if you have struggles with alcoholism or addiction or coping mechanisms or anything like that, there are going to be moments in our life where we're going to feel completely helpless. We're going to feel completely out of control. And if we do what we think is best, if we do in that moment what our mind, our ego, our spirit tells us is best for us to make the process or that moment easier or more bearable so that we don't have to feel helpless, it's possible that we will miss out on moments that can truly be beautiful and impactful and be a beacon of hope. So if you're feeling helpless, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, if you're grieving, if you're feeling out of control, I want you to hold on, but not in the way of actually holding on. I want you to let go. I want you to go with the flow, and I want you to stay in the moment to the best of your ability. It's not going to be perfect every single time. Maybe the first time you let go of control for a little bit, you go with the flow, but then you go back to the way that you know how to handle business. That's okay. But if you can do it once, you can do it again. If you can do it for 1 minute, you can do it for 5 minutes. If you can do it for 1 day, you can do it for 1 year. So there you have it, my friends. I hope that you found some value and hope in this story. Give me that thumbs up, hit that like button, because that way I know I'm connecting with you, and it also will help get this video out to others who might find this story and this message powerful and helpful and hopeful. I would be honored if you would share this video with friends, anyone that you might know, and then of course I'd be honored if you would subscribe to my channel, because it means so much to me, that sign of support, and ultimately just allows me to make more content and videos that I can use to help people live a better life. And until I see you again, I really hope that you'll check out that playlist right over there, or maybe the video right down there. That's actually the story from last week, another story within my story. And some food for thought. Be authentic, be fearless, be you, and everything else will fall into place. Thanks for your time, my friends. See you next week. Bye.